Shalom, shalom, family of the Most High Yah. I am Sister Zakah, and I am back with the completion of a word of encouragement, a word of exhortation, a word of direction, a word of consideration, in which I started on yesterday, but had to bring to a pause. That word of encouragement was coming from the book of First Peter chapter 5 around verse 6, I believe. And this word, the scripture speaks of us humbling ourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of Elohim, and that he would exalt us in due time. So I ended that first part off talking about this exalting is not with the understanding that the world tells us where we will be exalted in some type of corporate position, or we will be exalted in some type of financial position, or some type of, just worldly lights, camera, action, famous celebrity type status. But this exalting is talking about where we are now seated in heavenly places in the Shamayim, in Messiah Yahusha. So this exalting is about us finding our seat in Messiah, finding our marching orders in Messiah. What part, if not the fullness of his commission, we are called to do now, being servants of the Messiah, being sons and daughters of the Most High. So that's where I kind of left off at in the last word of encouragement, and I will pick up right from there. So the last thought that I paused on was that within being exalted in our rightful place in Messiah Yahusha, this exalting also has to do with us gaining territory. So when we think about the disciples, the taught ones of Messiah, when they were initially walking with Messiah and he was training and teaching them and developing them for what they would be in him, he gave them small territory. They only function within a certain parameter. And as they began to develop, then the Most High increased, or Yahusha increased their territory. And we saw that once the Messiah was risen, before he ascended back into the Shamayim, he increased, or he enlarged their territory, and expounded their reach, or stretch their reach. I guess expounded would be a good word. So that they can go out into now all the world, and to make disciples of themselves, and to share the good news of the gospel. And so, or the good news of salvation, I should say. And so likewise, when it comes to us in modern day society, those who are being awakened by the Spirit of grace, or through the Spirit of grace, to come into the knowledge of the Most High concerning the revelation of his Son, and what his Son, who his Son is, what his Son has done, and who his Son is to those who consider themselves to be a believer. And so once we go through, I did speak about the process of the knowledge of the Most High. We talked about acknowledging the error of our ways, making confession of what has been exposed, acknowledging that what has been exposed is the truth of Elohim, coming out of breaking those covenants with dysfunction, with darkness, with error, with wickedness, and coming into full agreement with full confession of Messiah Yahusha, and being washed in the water of the word, being cleansed by his precious blood, being filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, and then supping, fellowshipping with the Most High through his Son, that we may identify the mission under his, we will identify the commission. So Messiah has the commission, and we are co-laborers within his mission. So that makes us like a co-laborer, or having a commission. So he has the initial mission, and we have the commission, means that we support and we undergird the mission of Messiah. This is what faith is, as we are taught by him and led by him and developed by him. Then we become sufficient co-laborers within his mission. So this exalting, I spoke about this exalting has a part to do with our territory. So the Father may start you off with one person, and then he may say, okay, let me throw 2 more people into the mix. Let me see how she or he navigates. Let me see if he or she comes to counsel with me like Solomon did. Solomon was like, help me to reign over your people. He was asking for the counsel, because he understood that the counsel of Yah is better, is greater than riches and esteem. Although the Father still gave him riches and esteem, his heart posture to have the counsel of the Most High was everything. So as we are navigating the territories in which the Most High has given us, understanding above all, having the counsel of the Most High is what drives our faith in Messiah Yahushua. So by his spirit, we obtain, through the fear of Yah, we obtain wisdom, knowledge, understanding, discretion, to be able to manage or to navigate the territory in which the Most High has given us. And so, or has assigned to us, if you will. So with that being said, I spoke about the people of the Most High not being in one place or surrounding places as they were when he left his taught ones with his commission, but now they are spread worldwide. So whereas your territory might be your hometown, the Most High may say, okay, you've done everything I told you to say here. Now I need you to go to a city that I'm going to show you, or to a town that I'm going to show you, or to a family or a community of families over here. And as we come into an agreement with the marching orders Elohim has given us, we walk hand in hand with the Messiah to carry that out. We look at the example that the Messiah has left us. We listen to the words, the commandments, the instructions of the Messiah, and we depend on the Ruach HaKodesh to lead us, to give us that discernment, that awareness, to navigate these assignments. And so that was literally the word of encouragement, was to understand when the scriptures talk about us being exalted, this exalting is to become a co-laborer of Messiah. This exalting is not about us having lights, cameras, actions for us to be exalted with our own way, with our own will, with our own name, with our fake humility, with our fake wisdom, or fallen knowledge. This is not what the Most High is doing. As a matter of fact, before I came on, I was just going back and reading over the scripture, and a few verses up, let's see, 1 Peter verse 5, verse 6 was the verse that we were talking about, but verse 5, one verse up, it says, be clothed with humility, for Elohim resisteth the pride and gives grace to the humble. So when he exalts us, we're still clothed in this humility, because it is the humility that drives us to the completion of the mission. But once we become prideful, we become stagnant. So now, instead of esteeming the Most High and His Son and giving praises to the Ruach HaKodesh, or thanksgiving, I should say, to the Ruach HaKodesh for helping us to navigate every step that has been established by the Most High, we become prideful, and we start to become vain and stagnant. So really understanding humility from the Most High's perspective is a gem for those who have come to the place where now the Most High has exalted you, and you're kind of, I know for me, I'm literally in that space right now where I feel like a 1-year-old or 2-year-old that is learning how to walk, and I'm literally looking, for my parent to grab my hand, or leave their finger out so I can grab a hold to their finger, and that parent is the Most High. I'm looking for the Most High to say, what direction we going in. Is it okay to step down? How kids, babies are, when they first start walking, they walking like this. They're looking to develop that stability to where they've gained a pattern of walking stable, and they know the direction. So let's say they just start walking, and their parent would take them down out the car seat for them to walk from the car to the door. In those beginning phases, they're typically holding the parent's hand, but after they have established a pattern, after so much time, that child knows, they're stable and they're walking. They know how to get out the car and walk directly to the door. They're not going to the neighbor's house. They're not wandering down the street, but they have formed a pattern. And this is what we get in Messiah Yahushua. He helps us to form that pattern, to know, like, this is the proper door to walk into, versus doors that present themselves as opportunities. The wisdom of the Most High, the Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh of the Most High gives us insight. It gives us understanding to be able to walk through only the doors that the Father is opening before us. But if there are doors that are not being opened by the Father, the Ruach is going to nudge us. And if we are walking in this cloak of humility, we're not going to be prideful to say, hold up, I think I heard maybe, somebody said something about going into, we're not going to do that. We're going to trust the will of the Most High, even if the door that He is saying walk into, we're the only one walking into, while the other doors, there's a lot going on. The hype is there. People are turned up. There's music, there's food. And the Most High is like, no, I need you to walk through this door where it's just going to be you and I, and we just going to sit down and have a conversation. There's no hype outside of the benefits that we get from walking through that door and actually going to sup with Him, because we know that all things that the Most High calls us to, that there is a reward attached to it. So if that means having our party at the return of the Messiah, once He has brought us into the kingdom of His Father, then hallelujah. That's what that development process is. When we are humbling ourselves under the mighty hand of Yah, He is pressing all of the things out of us that will cause us to want to desire to go into those doors where there's a lot of people, there's a lot going on, it's hype, it's music. That humbling thyself under the mighty hand of Yah will press all those things out. And if we endure that process, it says He will exalt us in due time. There was another version of this over in James, the 4th chapter, and I wanted to read that very quickly. It says, I think it is verse 10, but I kind of want to go up a little bit to verse 4 or verse 5. It says, the spirit that dwelleth in us lusteth after envy, or lusteth to envy. So these are they who have not humbled themselves under the mighty hand of Yah. They have, they can see and they can hear about all the doors of dysfunction, all the doors of darkness, all the doors of fake humility, all the doors of vainglory, all the doors of those who have been hyped up by society, hyped up by vanity. These are they who can spot that. These are they who will listen to people of that caliber and follow after them because they want the vainglory too. I was once in that position, lacking the ability to see and to hear righteously, but all praises be unto the Most High for his restorative power. So these types of people, they lust after envy. I envy that person. I want to sound like her, or I want to be like him, or I want to walk in power like him, so they go into those doors. Versus it says, verse 6, but he giveth more grace, wherewith he have said, Elohim resisteth the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So those people that are going into those doors because they're lusting after the person who owned the door, or the person who's behind the door, or inside the door, they really lack grace. There is a grace that is operating, but they can't see it. There's an opportunity to be humble, but they don't take it because their eye isn't single. And so those who choose to see the opportunity of grace and to humble themselves, the Father bestows upon them even more grace. And then that's where I drop down, or, verse 7, submit yourselves therefore to Elohim, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. So when we resist to go into those doors, we resist the ways of the devil, which is trickery, blasphemy, evil, darkness, just wickedness. When we resist the devil, his ways, his devices, his influence, then the Father will cause him to flee from us, or he won't have no dealings with us unless the Father sends it. Verse 8 says, draw nigh to Elohim, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded. Verse 9, be afflicted. This is the humbling thyself under the mighty hand of Yah. This is what we talked about in the first part of this word of encouragement, that when we are humbling ourselves under the mighty hand of Yah, it is a time of affliction. It is a time of mourning. It is a time of weeping. Verse 9 says, let your laughter be turned to mourning and your joy to heaviness. So as we sup with the Most High and Messiah, there are things that he's going to reveal to us that are not going to feel comfortable. They're not going to feel good. For me, in my season of affliction, there were certain things that came up and I was just like, there's absolutely no way. I had not yet been humbled enough. The Father started working, he started pressing, and it started to get uncomfortable. And I would get up and run out of his house because I'm like, this can't be God. This can't, I was not taught that this is God. I was taught that God is loving. I was taught that, he loves me so much and his grace is sufficient. And, he wouldn't put more on me than I can bear. And I felt like those things I could not bear. But in the latter part of being under his mighty hand and walking with Messiah who shot and getting understanding about certain things, then I started to understand that when it gets uncomfortable, when it feels like it's heavy, like, oh gosh, this is heavy, I learned to yield. That's the humbling. That is the getting at the feet of Messiah. That is the asking of help, asking for understanding, because a lot of things just didn't make sense. I'm like, the more I'm drawing nigh to the Father, I wasn't going out, I wasn't hanging out, I wasn't fornicating, I wasn't doing any of the things that the world says is fun or is good. But the more I was drawing to him, it felt like the more I was getting afflicted. And so a lot of that I wasn't able to understand. But the more I yield, in due time, he began to give me understanding. And not that it made the process easier, it just made it durable. It made it more, it made me more able to stand in the process, if that makes sense. So yeah, verse 9 says, be afflicted and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning and your joy to heaviness. Then verse 10 says, humble yourselves in the sight of Elohim, or sight of the Most High, and he shall lift you up. So this one says that he shall lift us up, versus 1 Peter and 5 says he will exalt us in due time. So this lifting up is one and the same of him exalting us in due time. This lifting up will be, you know, in levels. Some people lift up faster than others. Some people, you know, it may take a little bit more time because they have more that the Father has to press out of them. And sometimes he gives us that little bit of height and we go out there and mess up. So he's like, nah, we got to bring you back down. You're not ready. And so this is all a part of the journey. The Father is not trying to suppress us because he just want to suppress us. He does that because when he exalts us, the only thing that he want to see, he want to hear, and he want to feel is his son. That's it. Because our righteousness is as filthy rags. You know, as long as we're in this flesh, there's always an opportunity to cut up. There's always an opportunity to misrepresent him. There's always an opportunity to turn back to wickedness. So the balance in it all is that when he exalts us, when he gives us that territory, staying in Messiah, always looking for Messiah, always listening to what Messiah has said, reading his examples, and longing to have the full confirmation of Messiah in our inward parts. That is another thing that will help us in this process of remaining humble when the Father lifts us up and exalts us. Very, very good to read this entire chapter. But I did drop down to verse 15 and I highlighted, if the Most High's will, we shall live and do this or that. So that was pretty much talking about, you know, we shouldn't say, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. But in the exalting, in the lifting up, we're literally depending on Yahusha every day, hearkening unto the voice of Yah, the spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh of Yah. Whether he say, you know, we may wake up every day to drink tea first or coffee first or whatever your preference is. He may say, no, when you get up, no, you're getting up that morning and you're on your way to your kitchen or wherever you have your stuff set up to make your coffee or your tea. And he's like, not this morning. You know, I don't even want you to drink that. And he may not talk to you like this, but however he talks to you, you know, he may just say no tea today. Or he may say try juicing them oranges that you have over there. Because everything is about obedience to Yah. All the law, all the Torah, you know, all the things that the prophets spoke of and Messiah spoke of and his taught ones spoke of was all about us developing in a effective obedience button. And I'm always using these terms now, attaching button to stuff, because I want us to get the analogy and the understanding that everything that Yah created in us is or could be for the Yah deals with me in pictures and sight and images. So the way that I understand everything about what he has created is that he created us functional. So every button, if you will, our eye button, our ear button, you know, our heart button, our goodness button, you know, those things through dysfunction or darkness, I would say, those buttons become broken. They become dysfunctional. So through humility, being humbled under the mighty hand of Yah, and him exalting us, will correct those buttons, and all of them will become functional again, and they will do what Yah intended them to do. And so that's the word of encouragement. I pray that this will be a blessing, a barakah to those that watch it, and to those who have a mishpachah in your household. If you believe that this word of encouragement, this word of exhortation, this word of direction, this word of consideration has blessed you, and you know someone that can benefit off of this word of encouragement, then I encourage you to share it. If not, I say shalom, shalom till next time.